Hey associates, this mini lecture expands on some of the basics and a few key strategies about UX or user experience. And no, our department, our major has multiple semester-long courses dedicated just to UX design, UX research, and more. So this video is just a small taste of the top 3 kind of concepts that I personally see applied the most in my day-to-day life and that I use to accomplish a lot of things when I'm not actually trying to use UX design. First, a little bit of background and foundations. UX, user experience, and UI, user interface design, is all about creating things that people will have a positive, useful, efficient, effective time and experience interacting with. We usually are talking about it in a digital landscape context, though as we'll see, some of these concepts can be applied to other areas of life just to help you understand interactions with the world. Ultimately, designing user-friendly digital experiences requires really understanding the users, their needs, their pain points, what they're trying to accomplish, as well as some of their motivations, their attitudes, and their background. We also have to undergo a lot of user testing to get truly, really good, refined UX and UI, and one reason why you see patch notes coming in all the time for digital products, things get updated, new versions, is because things change as the user needs change, as new options become available, and as we realize some of these roadblocks, bugs, glitches, things that people aren't interacting with the way we thought that they would when we designed it. With that, the UX UI design process is typically iterative, meaning we want to go through lots of kind of drafts, prototypes, versions of it relatively quickly to get lots of feedback, make adjustments, get feedback, and make adjustments.
You cannot do this forever.
Actually, I can. This is how things are now. You and me, trapped in this moment, endlessly. Mamu, or Mamu, or Mamu.
But overall, the ideation process is 5 stages that repeat as often as necessary to improve, revise, and refine the app, the website, the product, the prototype, whatever it is that you're making until it's endgame.
I wanna be your endgame.
First is research. Obviously, you need to understand your users' needs and behaviors. You had a lot of materials all about audience analysis, and this gets expanded out even further when your job is really trying to get that UX, that user experience, and you're really making things. Then there's the design. Here, we like to create things like wireframes, mock-ups, prototypes, right? It's really getting that idea. They're quick, they're kind of dirty, they're fresh. You might think of this even as your rough draft, so that way you can start getting some of that feedback and making edits. Third is the actual development. This is where we focus on a truly functional product. So we're taking the ideas, the wireframes, the outlines, the sketches, and turning it into the actual thing that we can put in front of formal user testing. And that leads to the 4th stage, which is the testing, where we actually evaluate how people interact with the product and what needs to be adjusted. And the 5th stage is iteration. Take the old thing that you had, take the feedback, combine it, refine it, iterate, move forward, and then repeat the process all over again. When we have good UX and somebody moves through the process with a lot of intention, really trying to improve and make something better, that absolutely will impact and probably increase your customer satisfaction and the adoption, the actual usefulness of your products in front of the people that need it. Now, you don't have to be a UX professional to use those stages of research, design, develop, test, and iterate, because you can use them anytime you want to make more usable, useful, enjoyable products. For example, I use this process all the time with my classes. Every semester, I look over the roster ahead of time just to get a sense of, what grade level, classification, majors, what is going to be the situation for that class environment. Then I actually will sketch out new ideas for homepage layouts or what assignments might look like based on what my roster is going to be, based on new ideas that I've had, new inspirations, and importantly, based on feedback from prior semesters. That feedback comes from me observing right? Where my past students had questions, had problems, had troubles, where they did things I was really excited about. So when you log in to our Canvas homepage, you're looking at my latest iteration that has absolutely been informed from all the semesters prior. I really tried to pay attention, sketch out, and now develop and ultimately test with you all new ways to make sure that assignments are clear, that you understand grading, different forms of grading, and different ways to present the material to help my end users, you interact, learn, engage, remember where we're at, and actually click on the stuff, do the work that I need and want you to do.
You could just go ahead and make sure you do that from now on. That would be great.
I have 3 favorite tools and strategies of UX that I use every day. Again, even though I am not actually in the world of UX that heavily, and I'm going to share them with you. I picked these 3 because they're concepts that can be applied to all sorts of creative processes, careers, and are things that can just make your day-to-day interaction with products a little bit better. The first is user journeys. A user journey illustrates how users accomplish a task and can be created to literally track the path, or more figuratively, track the emotions of somebody looking at your document. The second is wireframing. These are simple sketches to show the layout and functionality, usually of a web page or a screen, but I use wireframing as an extension of diagramming for loads of stuff because they are quick, useful, and give me a quick visual for what I'm thinking. And the last is interaction design. This is about designing engaging interfaces where users can, obviously, interact with your products. Understanding how I can manipulate the interaction design of things in my life just helps me have better experiences. So, right, a user journey is that visual kind of map or story of what a user is going to experience as they're going through the process of using your product, using your information. And we usually talk about them in the process of sort of app design, what's the journey through the app, but I use this for all sorts of stuff to try and figure out, imagine, analyze, and empathize with what my users, my readers, the people I'm interacting with, what are they going to feel with the stuff that I'm creating, telling them, sending them, providing for them. So in that traditional sense, a user journey is going to map out from the very first interaction somebody has with that app or their product through all of the things they're going to click on, actions they're going to take, things they'll experience, until they reach the end of the journey, which is sort of the end goal, end game, what it was that you hoped they could accomplish. Here's what's important in understanding user journeys. First, user goals at the core. Journeys are all about goals, just like technical writing is all about the end users. And we try to figure out what is the user trying to achieve in our product and what pain points, what barriers, what helpful things sort of are in the way or will they encounter in that journey. And last is the emotional aspect. User journeys also consider, right, the user's emotional state at different points in the journey, and this honestly just helps us identify those areas of improvement. So why do I like user journeys so much? Because honestly, they help me actually empathize even better with people. I really try to put myself in that mindset of they are using this, what are they feeling, what are they hoping for, what are they expecting, and what are they encountering. It also helps with optimization, and if you understand somebody's path and journey through a product, you can make those changes. That way it is the most, efficient, usable, and optimized that it can be. Now the thing with user journeys is they change all the time. For our different target audiences, right, the same product might have tons of different user groups that are after different goals, and so our journeys are changing with every interaction, with every audience that we're trying to understand, and they change over time, right, as your users change and what they want to get out of your product changes as well. Here's an example of a user journey I actually created while completing the UX certificate from Google Grow and Coursera. By the way, you don't learn everything clearly right through school. And once you get into that professional workspace, you're expected to continue learning, keeping up, and growing. So I rely on all the skills in terms of being self-sufficient, accountable, taking notes, actually bothering to try and learn stuff all the time, even though I've been in school for a long time and now out of school. I personally didn't get tons of background experience in UX since I was much more focused on the PR, media, and Stratcom side. So I have been basically in school doing projects through the Google Grow certificates and Coursera. not sponsored, so that way I can stay on top of my game and keep up with this new type of job that I have.
Yay!
Now, in those much more serious, real UX world, the wireframe is used by the development team to make sure everybody is on the same page and help get all those different pieces from the project managers to the coders to the graphic designers all on the same page and creating towards that same goal. A wireframe is something that just outlines, right, the basic structure, where and what are some of the buttons, big picture visuals. It doesn't get into all the details. It doesn't include color. You put pretty limited amount of text, just enough to get the idea, and really just mock up or mark out where a button is going to go, where a photo is going to go, how big do you want it, all of those big picture details. That makes it easier to film the content later. So, of course, when I'm writing something or designing a page, going to use a wireframe even before I get into all the content, so I kind of have a picture in my head of where the headings are going to go, how much text, what size text boxes, is it going to be columns or not, do I need a graph here, what's this visual going to look like, is there a border, all of those questions I am able to visualize in that wireframe first. And it just gives you a good sense of some of the size, the ratio, the alignment, all of those crap principles are much easier to see in a wireframe than just describing or trying to hold inside of your head. Even though wireframes are pretty simple and don't have tons of detail in them, they are super duper useful in helping us visualize what that product, what their direction is going to go. It gives us a lot more clarity, right? Anytime we can see something to talk about, usually it's going to be a lot more clear. They also are actually really efficient. You might be thinking, ugh, I need to draw out a whole thing. Why can't I just start on the project? And I mean, obviously you can, but it's similar to creating an outline when you're just writing. Yeah, you can just go for it and do a lot more work on the back end to make sure things are organized, or risk just having things not be that organized. But if you build kind of this idea of quick sketches and wireframes into your process, it can be a lot more efficient because you can see right away how things are going to fit, if they're going to fit on the page, how much space you have to work with, as well as starting to create a list of different assets that you know you need to find or want to find, rather than kind of reverse engineering what it looks like when you have the content later. And last, it actually is great for focus. So if you find yourself kind of getting a little scattered, distracted by the details in your creative process, doing these nice basic sketches can actually be really helpful. Then if they don't have tons of detail, it's really big boxes for this indicates a photo. I'll figure out what that photo is later. Maybe you quick write in, oh, this is where the photo of somebody at a computer needs to go. Okay, this is just where the buttons are going to go. This is just where the heading's going to go. And it gives you kind of a silhouette without having to worry so much about every little detail that can really distract along the way. Wireframes are usually created in different software applications, but again, since I don't work actually in UX, you might not actually work in UX, definitely just sketching them on a whiteboard, pen and paper, is absolutely great. I usually just sketch mine super quickly, so that way, again, I can get the ideas swirling in my head down on the page and then refocus my energy elsewhere. So whenever you need to make a visual thing, projects for this class, maybe a poster for your club, an invite for your birthday party, and you can even do it for paper layouts as well, try making a quick wireframe so that way you have a good idea of what you're going to be creating, what is it actually going to look like. Have that in the back of your mind, have it hanging on a post-it note on your computer to help guide you as you actually write the content. Wireframing is also a great creativity exercise. Creativity is a skill you need to practice, you need to flex it, and so that's another place where I often use wireframes when I just have a little bit of downtime to try and keep some of my creative ideas firing, keep that skill sharp. I will set a timer, or I personally like to put on my favorite songs at the moment, pick 2 or 3, you want it to be about a 6 to 8 minute long exercise, then pick a topic, a document, just a thing that you want to create around. It could also be pick a favorite app that you have, look at its home screen, and while the songs are playing, you need to come up with as many different, new layouts by creating quick wireframes as you can for that topic, for that page, for that design. Definitely try to get at least 5 in, so you're spending a minute, max 90 seconds on each one. Get as many as you can, try to make them different and force your brain to think, right, about new things, to create some new stuff. It's just a really fun little exercise that's great to pass the time and great to actually work on this creative thinking skill. Now, the last concept that I just want to briefly talk about, I use it kind of all the time in my day-to-day life, even though my job is not actually in UX, and even when I'm not working on technical writing projects, and that is interaction design. Now, overall, it's a field and a really cool career area that you can and should explore if this resonates and lands with you at all. But basically, it is a field of creating and very useful, efficient, enjoyable interactions between the people, the users, and the interface. Regardless of the medium, the goal is always the same. How do we design, right, this interface, this interaction that is intuitive, enjoyable, and efficient for the users? Now, I use and experience this concept and strategy the most as an actual user, since I'm not really designing a lot of products. But understanding and learning a little bit about the world of interaction design has really helped me with the stuff that I interact with, and helps me know how to customize things to really fit my needs. So, for example, many game developers, right, as part of good interaction design, will allow you to customize or sort of remap actions to the different keystrokes. A lot of players, if you're like me, you didn't know that was actually a thing.
You could just go ahead and make sure you do that from now on. That would be great.
Until I started exploring more about interaction design. And so I didn't know that I could change, right, which buttons did what. And while often the default settings are pretty usable, right, the game designers have tried to make them, helpful, useful, intuitive, it doesn't always land, right? Our brains all work a little bit differently. Maybe your pinky just can't quite reach the control button for that action or whatever it is. And so most gamers who are following good interaction design principles actually allow you to customize it and change the interaction. Now that I know that, I usually go back in and rekey almost all the games that I play. But a really recent example, there's a game that the flying mechanics, right? They were different than, when your character was on the ground, when you were on kind of a mount that could, fly around and go places. And the kind of added sort of vertical, right? I need to be able to go up and down interactions, were these really weird keys. I had to kind of reach over and try to hit control or something, and it my brain literally could not do it. I could not move my character. I was getting really frustrated, absolutely failing at the task, could not get where I wanted to go. And as soon as I went in, changed, right, that interaction to be, okay, now the W, right, normally would just move a character forward. When I'm specifically flying, I rekeyed that to be going up. So now, because just for my brain, it just made sense. My finger moves up, and now my character moves up. But that meant I had to pick something else for what used to be forwards and backwards. And so I changed it to be a mouse click, and I was well, I never really go backwards, so I made it something random, but not random. I think I changed it to B. And as soon as I did that, instantly, right? I got past the level, got past the challenge. Now I'm zip-zapping around with my character. No problems. My entire experience has changed. I went from being so frustrated, literally not being able to do it, to absolutely having a good time, all because the game designers allowed me to change the settings, change that interactive design, and rekey so that way the actions, right, the buttons, made sense for the way I was using and trying to play that game. Now, in a non-gamer context, you probably manipulate the interaction design all the time as well. Every time you change, right, what the home screen on your phone looks like, you rearrange the apps so that way it's the buttons, the apps, the icons that you want to see when you want to see them. Boom, you're manipulating, right, that interaction. You're kind of acting like a personal interaction designer for your own experience. Same with changing the font size, the color, going light to dark mode. All of that is changing your experience, and all of that is adjusting, right, the design that you get to see. So go off, be a curious learner, explore more about those concepts if you're interested. Otherwise, give it a shot. Think about a user journey. Every time you need to maybe request something from your friend, take a moment, map out what it is you think they're going to experience as you ask them, take them on this journey. You might try wireframing your projects or a poster that you need to create, or just do it for fun. Because it is fun, right? Practicing creativity can be fun. And last, absolutely think about that interaction design. And if something is not working for you, more than likely, they are gonna allow you to customize and change those settings so that way your experience is better. All right, thanks associates, vibes.